Hello, and welcome. Today's story is unlike anything you've ever heard before. It is March 14th, 2026, and just 6 hours ago, something truly extraordinary happened that could change everything we know about physics. Picture this, a massive supercell thunderstorm brewing over the Pacific Ocean just north of the equator, a standard, chaotic system we'd expect from nature. But at exactly 8:42 UTC, NASA's GO satellite detected something that, statistically speaking, should be impossible. We're talking about an object named 3I Atlas. As it passed through the upper atmosphere, skimming the ionosphere, just 180 kilometers above Earth's surface, something completely unexplainable occurred. Instead of simply passing through the storm, 3I Atlas appeared to absorb the lightning. It wasn't just struck, it drew in the lightning from the storm. Imagine this, 300 million volts of raw electricity being siphoned from a thunderstorm, all while the object is moving at 14 kilometers per second. What's even more mind-boggling, when an energy transfer of this magnitude happens about 5 gigajoules, in a split second, we expect to see a massive thermal bloom. The object should have heated up, glowing like a dying star on the infrared spectrum. But it didn't. The heat signature remained eerily close to absolute zero. This is what's keeping astrophysicists up at night. If you look at this from the perspective of a Type 0 civilization, one like ours, it seems almost magical. But when viewed through the lens of advanced physics, it appears to be a feat of technology far beyond our understanding. When the data first reached the secure channels at NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory, the initial assumption was sensor error. After all, lightning doesn't curve upward into a vacuum to strike a cold rock, right? But then, the Japanese JAXA agency confirmed the readings from their Himawari 9 satellite. They found that the lightning was perfectly vertical, sustained for 1.4 seconds, and when the connection was broken, 3I Atlas accelerated. This is not a small detail. Conservation of momentum tells us that absorbing energy should not increase velocity unless that energy is immediately converted into thrust. Yet, there was no exhaust, no plume, no chemical reaction, just a silent, impossible jump in speed right after absorbing the storm's energy. It's as if the object treated our planet's weather systems like a fueling station. Now, let's back up to the exact moment of contact to understand why the scientific community is in a state of quiet panic. The date is March 14th, 2026. The time is 8:42 UTC. A supercell storm system located at 12.4 degrees north, 135.8 degrees east, deep in the Philippine Sea, was where this event occurred. A standard high precipitation storm system, a type meteorologists call electrically active. Usually, when a storm discharges upward, we witness what is called a blue jet or a gigantic jet. These are cone-shaped bursts of blue light that fan out as they hit the ionosphere. They are chaotic, fractal in nature, and look like the roots of a tree reaching for the sky. But this time, 3I Atlas altered the geometry of the sky itself. As the object passed just 180 kilometers overhead, the storm didn't produce a cone of plasma. Instead, it produced a line, a coherent column of plasma, thinner than a pencil lead, connecting the cloud top directly to the object. And here's where the data becomes undeniable. If this were just a sensor glitch, we could dismiss it. But we don't have just one confirmation. We have 3 independent sources validating this data. NASA's GO satellite, using its geostationary lightning mapper, detected the optical flash. The luminosity spike recorded was 400 times brighter than a standard lightning bolt, concentrated in a 4-meter radius. Simultaneously, the European Space Agency's Swarm constellation, which monitors Earth's magnetic field, detected a localized magnetic collapse. The field lines didn't just bend, they snapped, and the data pointed directly at 3I Atlas. Finally, JAXA's Himawari 9 satellite confirmed the cloud top temperature dropped by 4 degrees Celsius in the milliseconds following the discharge. This wasn't just a random phenomenon, it was coordinated. 3I Atlas didn't just get struck by lightning, it extracted thermal energy from the storm system itself. This data reveals something unprecedented. The object created a conductive channel, a wire made of plasma, and drained the electrical potential of a storm roughly the size of Texas. But that wasn't the only anomaly. Just 3 minutes later, at 8:45 UTC, something even stranger happened. The storm collapsed. A supercell of that magnitude typically lasts for hours, cycling energy, building updrafts, and generating precipitation. But after the connection with 3I Atlas was broken, the updrafts collapsed, and the radar reflectivity dropped to zero within just 90 seconds. It was as if someone pulled the plug on the storm, and all the energy required to sustain it vanished. And where did it go? Inside the object. Think about this. To drain a storm of its energy, you need a conductive path offering less resistance than the surrounding air. But 3I Atlas was in the vacuum of space with no air to conduct electricity. So how did it complete the circuit? Spectral analysis from the Maya Observatory in Hawaii gives us a hint. Milliseconds before the lightning struck, a trace amount of ionized argon gas was detected trailing behind the object. Argon is inert, meaning it doesn't react chemically, but it ionizes easily. The data suggests that 3I Atlas laid down its own wire. It sprayed a trail of ionized gas into the upper atmosphere, creating an artificial bridge for the electricity to climb. This isn't random behavior. Comets release gas, yes, but they do so in a diffuse coma, a cloud. They don't print a straight line of argon directly into a thunderstorm. The odds of a natural comet releasing gas in a perfect vertical line at the exact moment it passes a high-voltage storm, statistically, that's zero. And yet, the sensors recorded it. This isn't a natural phenomenon. This is engineered behavior. The question now becomes, if 3I Atlas can siphon 5 gigajoules of electricity, where does it go? We know it doesn't turn into heat, and we know it doesn't turn into light. The object remains cold and dark. This defies every law of thermodynamics unless the energy is being stored. But in that case, where and how? The data seems to suggest that 3I Atlas isn't just a rock, it may be a battery, a cosmic capacitor. But what happens next? What is the object really up to? That's the question that keeps experts up at night. As we delve deeper into the mystery, let's take a closer look at what happened next. After 3I Atlas absorbed the energy from the storm, something incredible occurred. The object, which had just siphoned off a massive amount of electrical energy, didn't explode like any conventional device would. Instead, it remained intact. This leads us to the next extraordinary piece of the puzzle. If you were to take a battery the size of a mountain and charge it with 5 gigajoules of electricity in under 2 seconds, the result would be catastrophic. The internal resistance would generate so much heat that it would trigger a small nuclear explosion. Yet, 3I Atlas remained completely unharmed. It was colder than the surrounding space, actively cooling down instead of heating up. This defies every known law of thermodynamics. When you add energy to a system, the temperature must rise unless the energy is not being stored as heat. This unusual behavior suggests something extraordinary. Could it be that 3I Atlas is composed of a material that has zero electrical resistance at low temperatures? The only material in the universe that can absorb electricity without resistance is a superconductor. A superconductor allows electricity to flow without generating heat. Could 3I Atlas be a naturally occurring superconductor? If this were the case, the current from the lightning wouldn't generate heat. It would simply flow, circulating within the object, trapped in a magnetic bottle, forever. However, natural superconductors require extreme conditions, specific pressures, and crystalline structures, none of which we've ever found in nature. So, if 3I Atlas is indeed a superconductor, it would represent something entirely new in the universe. But the plot thickens. As we examine the spectral data gathered by the Atacama Large Millimeter Array, ALMA, in Chile, the true nature of the object begins to reveal itself. ALMA was looking for thermal radiation, expecting to find signs of heat that would indicate the object had absorbed energy. But instead of finding heat, ALMA detected silence. 3I Atlas was colder than the background radiation of space itself. How is this possible? The only explanation is that 3I Atlas is absorbing and storing energy in a way that we've never seen before. If it is indeed a superconductor, it could be circulating the electricity inside itself, never allowing the energy to dissipate as heat. This idea challenges everything we know about energy storage and transfer. And it brings us to the next crucial question: what happens to all the energy it stores? After all, a capacitor, no matter how advanced, is useless unless it is discharged. Energy storage is passive, but energy release is active. So, if 3I Atlas is indeed a cosmic capacitor, when and how will it discharge this vast store of energy? The answer may lie in the object's interaction with Earth's magnetic field. As 3I Atlas approached the geomagnetic equator on March 14th at 10:42 UTC, the Earth's magnetic field began to interact with the stored charge inside the object. This interaction was no coincidence. The object dove straight into the Van Allen belts, the regions of intense radiation trapped by Earth's magnetosphere. These areas are dangerous for satellites, yet 3I Atlas seemed undeterred. As it entered the inner belt, the stored energy inside the object began to resonate. The 5 gigajoules it absorbed from the storm weren't sitting idle, they were vibrating. This brings us to an astonishing detail. The sensors on NASA's Van Allen probes detected a frequency, a hum oscillating at exactly 7.83 Hz. That frequency should sound familiar to you. It's the Schumann resonance, the fundamental frequency of Earth's electromagnetic field. 3I Atlas had tuned itself to match Earth's magnetic heartbeat. It wasn't just storing energy, it was synchronizing its internal frequency with our planet's. And why would an object in space do that? Rocks don't resonate, comets don't tune their frequencies. This suggests a level of interaction far beyond passive physics. It points to a mechanism designed to couple with a planetary magnetic field. At this point, the evidence begins to shift from strange to downright unsettling. The moment 3I Atlas synced its internal frequency with Earth's, something happened. The stored energy was released, but not in the form of a typical energy burst. Instead, 3I Atlas emitted a directed pulse of coherent radio waves powered by the energy it had absorbed from the storm. And here's the most disturbing part. The pulse wasn't aimed at random stars or distant objects. It was aimed directly at the South Atlantic anomaly, the weakest point in Earth's magnetic shield. This is no coincidence. The South Atlantic anomaly is a region where Earth's magnetic field is particularly weak. Satellites often avoid it due to the increased radiation risks. Yet, 3I Atlas fired a beam, a narrow, precise beam of electromagnetic energy, straight at this vulnerable spot. The pulse struck with such accuracy that it triggered an immediate response in the local magnetic field. The energetic particles trapped in the anomaly cascaded downward, causing a spike in radiation. Satellites in low Earth orbit had to enter safe mode to avoid damage, and even the Hubble Space Telescope, passing nearby, experienced the effects. What does this mean? If this is a natural event, then nature has somehow created a rock that can harvest lightning and fire it at a planet's weak point. Statistically, this is absurd. The chances of such an event occurring naturally are less than 1 in 4 million. But if this is artificial, if this is a probe, then what we've just witnessed was a test. A probe doesn't destroy a planet on its first pass. It tests the defenses. It measures the magnetic field strength. It probes for weaknesses. And that's where the story takes a chilling turn. As we continue to unravel this mystery, it becomes clearer that what we're witnessing is not a random event, but a carefully orchestrated series of actions. If 3i Atlas is a probe, it's running a test one that could have enormous implications for our understanding of space and energy. The fact that it targeted the South Atlantic anomaly with such precision using a directed pulse suggests that this object is not merely a passive cosmic anomaly, it's a highly advanced device, possibly conducting experiments on our planet's magnetic field and energy systems. So, what does this mean for us? If we accept that 3i Atlas is not a natural object, but rather an artificial probe, it raises the terrifying possibility that we've just been scanned by a civilization far more advanced than our own. The pulse it emitted was not a random discharge. It was a deliberate attempt to assess Earth's defenses and its ability to withstand such a targeted strike. But the implications go even deeper. What happens next? What is the next step for a probe that has just conducted such a precise test? We have to ask ourselves, why would a probe from an advanced civilization be so interested in our planet's magnetic field? What kind of technology or threat could be behind such a test? And more importantly, what is the message being sent by this interaction? The data from the European Space Agency's swarm satellites provides a crucial piece of the puzzle. When the electromagnetic pulse was directed at the South Atlantic anomaly, it caused a violent reorientation of the local magnetic field. The energetic particles trapped in this region cascaded downward, triggering a significant spike in radiation. This wasn't just an isolated event, it was a disruption, a direct hit aimed at the weakest point in Earth's magnetic shield. Satellites in low Earth orbit experienced this sudden surge in radiation, and the Hubble Space Telescope, too, was affected, entering safe mode to avoid damage. What we're seeing is not just a random event, it's a calculated attack on our planet's defenses. The question we must now answer is, why? What could this object be testing, and why was it so focused on Earth's magnetic field? The possibility that 3i Atlas is an advanced probe conducting tests on our magnetic defenses introduces an unsettling reality. If this object is indeed artificial, we are faced with the prospect that we may not be alone in the universe. And this probe, or whatever it represents, is not just studying our planet passively, it's actively testing our vulnerability. But let's go further. The nature of the pulse, its directed, coherent beam of radio waves, suggests an advanced understanding of electromagnetic fields and energy conversion. We know that the energy harvested by 3i Atlas from the storm was released with nearly perfect efficiency, a conversion rate of 98%, something humanity struggles to achieve with our best wireless power transfer technology. This object is achieving what we can barely dream of, and it's doing it in the vacuum of space, where such efficiency would normally be impossible. This leads us to another critical question. If this probe is capable of such advanced energy manipulation, what else is it capable of? What are the technologies at play here that we don't yet understand? The energy it harvested from the storm wasn't just stored, it was manipulated, tuned, and then released with purpose. The efficiency of this energy transfer challenges everything we know about physics, and it opens up new possibilities for how energy could be harnessed and used in the future. But while all of this is unsettling, there's one thing that stands out more than anything else. The pulse fired at the South Atlantic anomaly wasn't a random event. It was a deliberate test. It was a signal, a ping, to see how Earth would react. It wasn't just a probe sending a message out into space. It was a probe testing the response of a planet. The energy harvested and fired back at us wasn't just about draining a storm or manipulating the magnetic field. It was about gauging the strength of our defenses. This is where the stakes get even higher. If 3I Atlas is a probe from an advanced civilization, it suggests that we are being watched, we are being tested, and the results of this test could have profound consequences for the future of our planet. But here's the part that truly keeps me awake at night. The pulse that was directed at Earth wasn't just a one-time event. It was the first step. A probe doesn't just fire once and retreat. No, this is just the beginning. What we've seen so far is a test of our planet's defenses, a test of our vulnerability, and that test is not over yet. So, where do we go from here? The scientific community is scrambling to make sense of what happened, but one thing is clear. We are dealing with something far beyond our current understanding of physics and technology. 3I Atlas may not just be a cosmic anomaly. It may be the first contact with a civilization that is far more advanced than anything we've imagined. The question now is, what comes next? What is the response to this test, and what will it mean for humanity? Stay tuned, because the answers to these questions could change everything we know about our place in the universe. If you want to stay updated on this mind-blowing discovery and the potential implications for humanity, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell. You won't want to miss what happens next in this unfolding mystery.